Have you ever noticed that the most dangerous moments between a man and a woman aren't those of open discussion, explicit fights, or inflammatory statements, but rather the subtle, silent, seemingly harmless moments? Those where nothing seems to be happening, but everything is at stake. It's in this invisible territory that true psychological warfare is waged. You could be beside her, sharing a coffee, watching a movie, exchanging a smile, and without realizing it, a test is being applied. A test that isn't verbalized, isn't declared, but is as precise as a scalpel. She's not asking, isn't complaining, isn't reacting. She simply observes. And in this silence, there's more weight than in any speech. The smile remains, the tone doesn't change, the gaze is calm, but behind this feminine serenity lies something surgical, strategic, calculated. It's as if her every gesture is measuring something you can't see yet. She sets small, invisible traps in the space between you. They're not traps to destroy, but to reveal. And you don't even know they're there until you step on one. And when she does, she knows exactly who you are. She knows your strengths, and more importantly, your weaknesses. Women don't test with direct words. They test with pauses, with micro variations of tone, with silences that seem ordinary but carry hidden questions. They test with small requests that seem innocent but carry the weight of a judgment. It's in this subtle game that your identity is assessed. You think you're building connection, but she's analyzing how much of yourself you'd be willing to sacrifice to please her. You think you're being kind, but she's measuring how much she can influence your decisions. You believe it's love, but deep down, she's conducting a silent diagnosis of your psychological makeup, looking for cracks, testing your resilience to emotional pressure. And this is where Niccolo Machiavelli comes in, because what he understood about power, respect, and social hierarchy remains brutally true in the realm of human desire. Machiavelli knew that love and respect don't arise from the same place. Love may arise from gentle gestures, but respect is built on the perception of strength, stability, and command. In the power game, the weak man obeys. The strong man shapes reality, and women, consciously or unconsciously, want to know who they're dealing with. They want to feel they're with someone who doesn't lose sight of affection, who doesn't stray from the path of a smile or a subtle request. They want to be with someone who, under any pressure, holds the helm steady. This is the first layer of this game. The realization that tests aren't traps to bring you down, but invitations to prove that you're worthy of trust, leadership, and commitment. Imagine you're at the peak of your concentration, immersed in work, in creation, in executing something important. Your mind is sharp, your body focused. That's when she enters the room. Her gaze is sweet, her voice is light, perhaps even a little playful. She leans slightly over the table and asks for something simple. Carry an object, resolve a detail, look at something quickly. It's not urgent, it's not serious, but it's now. And you, without thinking, drop everything. You smile, agree, and stand. And in this seemingly innocent gesture, you surrender something precious, the throne of your attention. Think about it. If she had asked 5 minutes earlier, when you were distracted, it would have been different. If she had waited for you to finish, it would have been different. But no, she asked when you were in charge. This is no coincidence. It's a silent test of priority. She wants to feel that, even when involved in something important, you know how to protect her mission. Because if you don't, how will you protect her? It's in these kinds of moments that your worth is measured, not by words, but by your ability to maintain your own structure. A man who doesn't understand this game thinks giving in is proof of love. He thinks he's strengthening the relationship by showing complete availability, but in her mind, the situation is different. She sees that her focus can easily be broken, and this, on a deep level, undermines her sense of security. It's not that she wants you to be cold or insensitive. What she wants, and what Machiavelli would explain clearly, is to know she's with someone whose attention can't be bought or diverted for convenience. Because when a man governs his own time, he governs himself, and he who governs himself is capable of governing any circumstance. It's not about ignoring, denying, or disrespecting. It's about demonstrating, with quiet firmness, that your mission is non-negotiable, that your highest priority is not to please in the moment, but to maintain the direction that builds your long-term value. She realizes this. Perhaps at the moment she feels a slight frustration, perhaps even discomfort, but underneath she feels something deeper, respect. It's an ancient, almost instinctive feeling that awakens when she's faced with someone who doesn't buckle at the first touch of the tide. This respect isn't born from grandiose acts, but from the sum of small displays of firmness, small moments in which you show that your identity is not for sale. And that's where you need to understand. Every interaction is a micro-battle, a battle that won strengthens your presence, lost weakens your image, not only in her eyes, but in your own. Because when you betray yourself to please, your own body registers it. Your mind understands that in exchange for a smile, you've abandoned yourself. And this habit repeats itself until you become someone who doesn't lead, but merely follows. The first step is to recognize the battlefield. Know that the tests are not carried out with flags or drums, but with silence, glances, and subtle requests. Know that what's at stake isn't the object she wants you to carry, nor the opinion she wants to hear. What's at stake is the throne. And if you cede that throne, regaining it will be much harder than you imagine. Machiavelli said that it is better to be feared than loved, if one cannot be both. But in the context of desire, perhaps it is more accurate to say, it is better to be. A woman is silently testing your power. Here's how you win, Machiavelli. It's better to be respected than to be loved if you can't guarantee both. Because respect sustains love, but love without respect disintegrates. A woman may even stay by your side without respecting you, but she will never fully surrender herself to a man she feels she can control. This is the invitation of this first lesson, to observe silence as a testing ground, to recognize that, in the power play between men and women, the most decisive battles are fought not in shouts, but in whispers. And that, when you learn to respond to these whispers with firmness and clarity, you begin to shape her perception, and your own, of who is the true commander in this relationship. Because in the end, the biggest trap isn't her test. It's believing it isn't happening. She doesn't say anything right away. She's relaxed, the conversation flows, the atmosphere is pleasant, almost lukewarm. And then, as if dropping an unimportant detail, she mentions a name. It could be someone from the past, a close friend, or just an acquaintance. There's no drama, no emphasis, but there's intention. Just enough for the sound of those syllables to reach your ear and settle in your mind. It's at that moment that she observes not just your outward reaction, but your entire body. The involuntary movement of your eyes, the slight adjustment of your posture, the change in breathing rhythm, even the time it takes you to respond. Every micro-expression is a piece of data she stores. And most importantly, she's not seeking your verbal response, but your internal energy. She wants to know if that name shakes the structure you support, if it breaks through the wall, or if it bounces off without leaving a mark. This is one of the oldest tests, but also one of the most effective, because it doesn't require direct confrontation. It doesn't require her to expose herself. It activates a primitive mechanism, the competitive instinct, and the need for validation. The insecure man immediately falls into the trap. He asks questions in sequence, tries to extract information that may not even exist, adopting a casual tone that doesn't deceive. He doesn't realize that by doing so, he shifts the focus of the conversation. She is now the guardian of a mystery, and he is the anxious interrogator. He has lost his position as leader and assumed that of follower. Machiavelli once said that whoever controls the flow of information controls the game. And at that moment, the game is no longer in his hands. Think about how many times you've seen or experienced situations like this. You're on a date and everything is going well until that name comes up. Or maybe it's not a name at all, but a comment about a past relationship, a seemingly harmless memory. The atmosphere changes, not blatantly, but like a shift in the wind at sea. Almost imperceptible, but enough to alter the course of the boat. This is how a test works. Small, quick, but capable of measuring your true size. And even if she's not fully aware of what she's doing, the effect is calculated by instinct. She wants to know if you're driven by the present or chained to the past. A man who masters himself reacts completely differently. He listens and maintains his composure. He might even smile slightly, make an observation that doesn't betray discomfort, or simply continue the conversation. It's not about feigning indifference, but about truly not allowing his peace to be shaken by something that doesn't belong in the present. This is the essence of inner power, not negotiating his stability for curiosity or insecurity, He understands that each uncontrolled reaction is a brick removed from the wall that protects his presence. When you react this way, the test is reversed. Now she's the one wondering why you didn't take the bait. Are you that confident? Do you really not care? Or do you have such sharp self-control that you choose what does and doesn't deserve your attention? The absence of the expected reaction creates a vacuum that can only be filled with curiosity, and curiosity is one of the strongest triggers of attraction. It's as if you've silently created a new narrative, and now she needs to discover the ending. It's at this point that the dynamic quietly shifts. You're no longer under scrutiny. She is. She begins to observe whether your calm is real or a disguise. She begins to look for cracks that may not exist, and without realizing it, she enters a mental state in which she tries to decipher you. This is the point at which respect begins to deepen, because you've not only withstood the test, but transformed it into a field where your presence has become denser, harder to ignore, and this density isn't created with words, but with the silent certainty that you won't be moved by provocation. Bring this to practical, everyday examples. Imagine you're at a dinner with friends, and someone mentions someone they've had a relationship with in the past. The group continues chatting normally, but you know they're paying close attention to how you'll react. If you change your tone, if your posture stiffens, if you start asking too many questions, it'll all register. But if you just listen, maybe even play along, and continue to conduct yourself without losing your naturalness, they'll read it differently. And that reading doesn't depend on what you say, but on what you convey. Your energy speaks louder than your words. At its core, this kind of test is a search for security. A woman wants to feel like she's with someone who isn't easily shaken, who doesn't need to fight emotional battles with ghosts from the past. She wants to know that, when the winds of life change, you'll remain steadfast. That's why this test is so powerful, because it's not really about another person. It's about you. About your ability to stay centered even when a part of the game seems to slip out of your control. He wants to see if you remain in control even when something unexpected gets in the way. Machiavelli taught that a wise ruler never allows himself to be guided by rumors or external provocations, but remains focused on what builds his dominion. The same applies here. Your attention is your most valuable territory. Whenever you surrender that territory to something that doesn't matter, you weaken your authority. But when you preserve your stability, you send a silent and powerful message. You are the center of your own narrative, and nothing outside of it defines who you are. And this message doesn't need to be announced. It is felt. And perhaps the biggest surprise is that, by naturally withstanding these tests, you awaken something deeper than simple attraction. You awaken trust. Because for a woman, knowing you won't be manipulated by insecurities is proof that you can lead not only in good times, but also when the waters get rough. And that's when she begins to realize she's not just in front of a man who attracts, but a man who imposes presence, who shapes the environment around him without raising his voice. A man who doesn't lose himself to protect his ego, but who protects his mission. And that's precisely what makes her want to stay within his gravitational field. The room is filled with voices, laughter, and side conversations. A dinner with friends, a social gathering, a busy bar. The sounds blend into a comfortable backdrop until, suddenly, she launches a comment directed at you. It's not a direct attack, but a subtle provocation, crafted with the precision of someone who knows they're observing more than speaking. It could be a joke about a choice you've made, an observation about a trait of yours, or a veiled challenge to your opinion. The phrase comes naturally, but its weight is calculated. She's testing something greater than your ability to respond. She's measuring your control in front of the audience. How well you maintain your center even when the spotlight is unexpected. Many men's instinct is to react quickly, justify themselves, or try to diffuse the provocation with nervous humor. This haste is treacherous. Every time you rush to explain yourself, even without realizing it, you send a message to everyone around you that their opinion has power over your emotional state. It's almost like handing over the keys to your presence to someone else. This is the true heart of this test. Not the content of what was said, but how your posture changes when the focus of attention turns to you. Have you ever noticed how, in a group, a small exchange can alter the collective perception of someone? It only takes a few seconds for everyone to unconsciously reposition their image within the current social hierarchy. What happens if, instead of reacting with excuses, You hold your gaze, hold a slight smile, and return something brief but firm. What if, instead of explaining yourself, you let silence and your confidence fill the space, forcing everyone to adapt to your energy? Here comes a Machiavellian principle. Public perception shapes power as much as private actions. In a social context, your every gesture is recorded not only by her, but by everyone present. It's as if there were an invisible scoreboard, and every moment you maintain your composure, you earn silent points in the minds of each observer. And there's no need for theatrics. In fact, overreacting can be fatal to your credibility. A small loss of control can erase months of consistency. Imagine a simple scenario. You're at a barbecue with friends, and she says something like, "You always do that, don't you?" in a joking tone. Everyone looks at you, waiting for your reaction. The insecure man, afraid of appearing weak, laughs exaggeratedly or tries to defend himself with lengthy explanations. But the man who understands the game smiles, looks her in the eye, and responds with something like, "And that's precisely why it works." Short, solid, without straying from his own axis. The conversation continues, and in the collective unconscious, you remain in control. In everyone's memory, it's recorded that faced with a social test, you didn't just survive, you shaped the scene. Why does this work? Because it shows that you're not threatened by the gaze of others. Most people live in fear of public judgment, and seeing someone comfortable in the spotlight, even when faced with provocation, is magnetic. The tension that could otherwise turn against you turns into curiosity and, often, respect. And respect in this kind of environment is the most valuable currency there is. Have you ever wondered how many opportunities to assert yourself quietly go unnoticed in your daily life? How many times have you given up ground by trying to explain yourself too quickly? The rush to prove something is almost always interpreted as insecurity. And insecurity, in this type of interaction, is like blood in the water. It attracts social predators. The key here is not to create confrontation, but to maintain your own narrative. This means that even when someone tries to divert the focus to something that might diminish you, it's your reaction that decides whether it becomes a wound or a shield. Composure isn't the absence of emotion, it's mastery over it. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes to transform provocations into platforms to reinforce your presence. The element of surprise can also work in your favor. When they expect you to explain yourself, and instead you drop a light, unexpected line, it diffuses the test. Something like, "Good thing, otherwise it would be too boring," and completely reverse the dynamic. It's at this moment that the unwitting audience, including her, begins to realize that you're not a predictable player. And this creates a fascination that's hard to break. Now, think about the cumulative effect. Every time you maintain your composure in the face of a social test, you build an invisible reputation. This isn't just between the two of you. It's in the group, on social media, and in the memory that lingers in future conversations. People tend to treat those who maintain consistency under pressure with more respect. It's as if you're investing in a personal brand that, with each test you pass, becomes more valuable. Machiavelli understood that true leadership doesn't come by shouting orders, but by making others recognize your worth without having to ask. That's what's at stake in these public moments. Not just responding to provocation, but shaping collective perception in your favor. You plant seeds of authority that germinate in the minds of everyone present. What if, starting today, you could see every comment, every joke as a platform to reinforce your presence? How would it change the way you react? How often could you use silence, a controlled smile, and the right phrase to position yourself as someone who doesn't flinch? What impact would it have on the way people talk about you when you're not present? This is the power of the third layer of silent testing, the ability to maintain leadership even when the situation seems to conspire to take away from you. When you master this, you're not just responding to a woman or a comment, but affirming to everyone that the center of gravity of the interaction is wherever you choose to place it, and that no one has the right to move it without your permission. She stops texting as often. There are no arguments, no long explanations, just a gradual silence that begins to creep between you. At first it may seem like she's busy or distracted, but as the days go by, you realize there's something more. Replies come shorter, the gaps between them longer. Conversations that once flowed now seem permeated by an invisible absence. And that's precisely where the test begins. This type of withdrawal isn't most of the time an accident. It may even be unconscious, but it serves a specific purpose: to observe how you react to emptiness. Social psychology has studied for decades how the absence of stimulation can generate extreme behaviors. The famous Zeigarnik effect shows that our minds tend to fixate more on unfinished tasks and interactions than on completed ones. Silence, in this context, isn't just the absence of words. It's an open wound that the brain wants to close at any cost. Most men faced with this withdrawal immediately go into compensation mode. They start sending back-to-back messages, asking if everything's okay, insisting on reconnecting. This reaction, however well-intentioned, conveys valuable information, that his emotional state is conditioned by her attention, and when this dependence becomes visible, the balance of power shifts. Have you ever noticed that in relationships, those who remain calmer during periods of distance rarely lose control of the situation? This isn't just intuition. It's supported by research on attachment and emotional power dynamics. Individuals who maintain their routines, priorities, and social presence even in the face of setbacks tend to be perceived as more secure and attractive. The reason is simple. Stability is synonymous with leadership. Imagine two parallel scenarios. In the first, a man notices she's pulling away and immediately rearranges his days to try to fit into her schedule. He cancels appointments, sends long messages, and offers impromptu dates. In the second, another man notices the same withdrawal, but continues to invest in his own life with the same intensity. He's not cold or distant. He simply maintains the rhythm of his own existence, without allowing her absence to destabilize his own life. Which of these two do you think arouses more respect and curiosity? The answer is obvious, and it is precisely this contrast that is being evaluated. Absence, when understood, can become a powerful mirror. It reveals not only how the other person behaves, but also how you see yourself. A 2018 study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships demonstrated that excessive contact-seeking behaviors after a separation are strongly associated with the individual's perception of lower social value in the relationship. In other words, the more desperately you try to fill the silence, the more you communicate that you lack control over your own value. You might be wondering, but what if the withdrawal is a genuine sign of disinterest? That's precisely where emotional control becomes vital. A hasty reaction only accelerates the loss of connection, while a firm stance keeps open the possibility of reconnection. Staying centered doesn't mean ignoring or passively accepting everything. It means choosing when and how to respond, so that each action reinforces your presence rather than diluting it. There's an element of surprise when you don't react according to the expected script. She expects you to chase, to ask persistently, to be eager to recapture the previous flow. And when instead, she encounters someone who continues building, working, cultivating relationships, and maintaining an aura of calm, something shifts. This shift often transforms the test itself into a trigger for renewed attraction. Consider a concrete example. You've been talking every day, and suddenly she only responds late in the afternoon. That same day, instead of asking questions, you post a photo of yourself working out, hanging out with friends, or working on a personal project. It's not boasting. It's a sign that your life remains full of movement and meaning. This kind of silent response communicates more than any long sentence. It says you don't need external reassurances to feel secure. Machiavelli argued that rulers must always preserve their independence of action, even when external pressures attempt to shape their decisions. In emotional dynamics, the principle is the same. Preserving your time, focus, and energy is not just self-protection. It's also a demonstration of valor. When you demonstrate that your existence isn't suspended by another's mood or attention, you project an image of stability that's hard to ignore. What if, instead of viewing absence as a threat, you treated it as an opportunity? The silence that many see as emptiness can be a space for you to strengthen your foundations, expand your skills, and cultivate new circles of influence. Social media statistics show that, on average, content and interactions that convey trust and personal fulfillment generate more long-term engagement than those that convey neediness or neediness. Distancing, however uncomfortable, doesn't have to be the end. It can be the perfect setting to subtly show that you're not defined by constant access. And when she realizes that your world isn't falling apart without her, but that there's still room for her to be a part of it, the dynamic changes completely. It's at this point that the test is reversed, and the one who distances herself begins to seek closeness again. The key is to remember that in any human interaction, especially the most intimate, the perception of value is rarely static. It is constantly shaped by our responses to the ups and downs of the relationship. Choosing to maintain your narrative, even amidst silence, is more than self-control. It is quiet leadership. And as Machiavelli well knew, leadership is not just about conducting in times of celebration, but remaining unwavering when the palace halls are empty. The place is noisy enough that every word has to pass through a filter, but not so loud that everyone can't hear when someone decides to speak louder. You're in a circle of people. The conversation is flowing, and suddenly she makes a comment about you. It's not a direct insult, but it carries a sharp edge. It could be about a recent decision you made, a detail in your way of dressing, or even how you handled something in the past. The words are accompanied by a smile, as if it were just a joke, but the timing and tone reveal something more. She wants to see how you react when your name is put on the line in front of others. The test in this case is more complex than it seems. It's not just about what she says, but where and when she says it. In public, her response is read not only by her, but by everyone. Every gesture, every intonation, every pause counts. It's as if you're on an invisible stage and everyone is evaluating, even if unconsciously, whether you remain in control or whether you're getting carried away by the need to justify yourself. The pressure here is twofold: to preserve your image in front of her, and to preserve your image in front of the audience. Many men, driven by the instinct to protect their reputation, end up overreacting. Some try to retaliate with another provocation. Others launch into lengthy explanations to prove they're right. And still others laugh forcefully, trying to turn something that didn't make them laugh into a joke. All of these responses have one problem in common. They communicate that her opinion had enough of an impact to alter his energy. In the silent game of attraction and leadership, this is a detail that matters. Consider the psychological effect this has on the group. When someone reacts defensively, what others notice isn't the logic of their response, but the change in posture. It's at this moment that, little by little, their position in the social hierarchy can shift. Those who maintain control convey authority. Those who lose control convey vulnerability. The most effective path here is one few follow, remaining still on the inside, even when there's movement on the outside. This doesn't mean ignoring or pretending nothing was said, but precisely choosing the weight and form of your response. A short sentence delivered calmly with a slight smile is often more impactful than any lengthy counterattack. Something like, "Maybe that's why it works," or "and yet it worked," keeps things moving and signals that you're not emotionally sold. This behavior not only preserves your image, but also creates an unexpected effect. The provocation loses its power. Instead of generating laughter at your expense, it becomes yet another moment in which you confirm to everyone that you don't let small nudges sway you. This isn't just charm. It's an exercise in social power. Machiavelli would write that a true leader doesn't need to crush opponents at every opportunity. He simply ensures that his presence is stronger than any attempt at destabilization. A practical example can help you visualize. Imagine you're in a work meeting, and someone jokingly comments that you always leave things to the last minute. If you respond with justifications, you're admitting that the provocation affected you. But if you respond with something light and confident like, "And I still deliver on time," and continue the conversation, you not only maintain your authority but also reinforce that the comment had no power over you. The key is to understand that, in these moments, the content of the speech is less important than the energy of the reaction. People who can maintain their composure in challenging social situations are seen as more confident and competent. This is supported by social psychology studies showing that, in groups, the perception of leadership is strongly linked to the emotional stability demonstrated under pressure. Another layer of this dynamic is the positive reinforcement effect within the group. When someone tries to provoke and fails to change your state, those around you internalize, even if unconsciously, that you're difficult to destabilize. And this attribute over time transforms into solid respect. You become not only someone they enjoy interacting with, but someone whose opinion and presence carry weight. But what if the provocation is laden with sarcasm, or clearly an attempt to diminish your position? In this case, the principle remains the same. Don't let the other person dictate the energy of your reaction. You can respond with a calm remark that returns the ball without aggression, or simply with a calculated silence that makes it clear you're not playing that game. The absence of a response, when used strategically, can be as powerful as the best line. Ultimately, what's being measured is your ability to maintain your balance in unstable social territories. Machiavelli would say that, in times of peace or in times of tension, the wise prince maintains the same posture. And in the modern scenario, these moments of public testing are the arenas where you test whether your image is merely a facade or anchored in genuine self-confidence. The impact of this extends beyond the moment. The way you react to social provocations creates narratives that circulate even when you're not present. People tell stories about who keeps their cool, who doesn't lose their temper, and this shapes how your name is remembered. Ultimately, your response influences not only that moment, but also the social capital you build for the future. So, with each public test, be an opportunity, not to win a debate, but to reinforce your presence. Not to prove you're right, but to show you're standing firm. When the group sees that, in the face of provocation, you maintain the same energy, they'll begin to treat you not just as part of the circle, but as a fixed point around which things revolve. And that's when you stop being just another person and start to be seen as a reference. She approaches in a calmer moment. The atmosphere no longer carries the noise of crowds or the weight of public provocations. Her voice is lower, her gaze longer, as if searching for a specific point in your soul. Maybe she'll say something simple like, "Are you okay?" Or, "You've felt different lately." These words, however gentle they may seem, are an invitation to open the door, to reveal more than you normally would. It's not an attack, it's a probe, but it's still a test, the most delicate of all, because it measures your strength not against others, but against yourself. Unlike other tests, this one doesn't seek to determine whether you resist provocations, maintain focus, or master silence. It seeks to reveal whether, behind your firmness, there is true substance. It wants to know if the man who has remained unshaken in the face of absence and social pressure is also capable of opening up without losing his center. This is the finest line there is. How to share something real without turning it into exposed weakness. Many people err because they go straight to one extreme. Some close themselves off completely, as if feeling were a risk that could destroy their authority. Others open up in a disorderly fashion, as if vulnerability meant spilling the contents of themselves to anyone who asks. Neither maintains balance. The first communicates coldness and insurmountable distance. The second conveys instability and emotional dependence. The ideal path lies in the middle ground, what Machiavelli would call controlling the plot. Revealing yourself in moderation is an act of choice. It's saying something true, but without giving away power over how it will be used. It's sharing a piece, not the whole territory. An example: "I've had some challenging days, but I'm dealing with them." Or, "I've been thinking about some changes, but I know exactly where I want to go." In these phrases open space for connection, but make it clear that you remain in control. They show that you feel, but that your rudder hasn't changed direction. This skill is the result of training. It begins with how you manage your own thoughts when no one is looking. Throughout all the previous tests, interrupted attention, ghosts from the past, calculated silence, public provocations, the same thing has always been at stake: your ability to maintain self-control. This final test unites them all. It's the point at which you must prove that you are not only firm on the outside, but also stable on the inside. When you find this balance, something rare is born: true trust. Trust is more than attraction or respect. It's the silent certainty that, if she's by your side, she won't be crushed by instability or left adrift by coldness. This combination is magnetic. She's not seeking perfection, but the security of being with someone whose presence brings calm, without extinguishing the fire of leadership. To turn this understanding into practice, you need discipline and consistency. Here's a strategic plan to internalize what we've said. 1. Attention control. Every day, say no to small distractions. It's the daily practice so that nothing and no one can take your focus without your permission. 2. Immunity to ghosts. When the past comes up, answer briefly, confidently, and without going into detail. You don't need to argue with what's already in the past. 3. Mastering silence. Take moments daily to turn off notifications and reconnect with yourself. Learn to enjoy the calm. 4. Public posture. In social interactions, keep your answers short and confident. Avoid making impulsive excuses. 5. Measured vulnerability. Practice opening up to those who deserve it, in a clear and controlled way without losing your bearings. 6. Weekly review. At the end of each week, evaluate whether your actions strengthened or weakened your presence. By applying these points, you'll realize that you're not just changing how others see you, you'll be changing how you see yourself. You'll stop reacting automatically and start acting with intention. You'll start creating your own narrative instead of letting external stimuli dictate it. Remember, this isn't manipulation, it's personal sovereignty. A man who knows himself, controls himself, and keeps his mission as his guiding light becomes magnetic by nature. The respect this generates isn't something to be begged for, it's something to be given freely. Ultimately, power lies not in controlling others, but in not being controlled by anything other than your own principles. This is what all the silent tests have tried to demonstrate. If you master this, you will not only maintain stronger relationships, but also build a life where your presence is felt even in silence. If this message touched you, resonated with you, and opened new perspectives on who you are and how you act, take action now. Subscribe to the Deep Psyche channel, like this video so more people can access this knowledge, and share your experiences or questions in the comments, anonymously if you prefer. Your participation strengthens this community that grows by learning and evolving together.